Good day, Nigerians. Welcome to TTN. My name is Boega Adedeju.
Welcome to TTN. My name is Abiola Bayomi.
Somebody might be wondering what is TTN. TTN is Think, Talk, Nigeria.
Analyzing national issues and profiling solutions.
You're welcome. All right, so much happening in Nigeria now, and many Nigerians are asking questions. So many people are not able to come out to express their views. So many people are busy on the social media, and some people are actually doing some neighborhood networking and connection on the matters across the country.
Yes.
Currently, the issue of ENDSARS seems to be the trending matter in Nigeria now.
Yes.
I would like to ask you, what's your opinion on what is going on? What do you think about the protests and the response of the government towards the protesters?
Well, in my honest opinion, I actually think the protest initially was a good cause.
Okay.
You know, the protest started off as a result of, endless police brutalities that, young Nigerians have experienced over the years.
Okay.
And, it got to a point that people felt, well, this cannot continue again.
Yes, sir.
And then they took to the streets in what it looks like, expressing displeasure
Okay.
to what has been happening, a systemic, corruption in the
Okay.
police system of the country.
Okay.
And then young people came out and said, no, enough is enough. It is time for the government to put an end
Okay.
to this brutality, especially from the SARS unit
Okay.
of the Nigerian police force. So from the beginning, the protest was a just cause, and it was a cause that
The intention was
made known from the beginning, and I believe it was a cause that the government actually was supposed to look into,
All right.
which eventually they did, but something else took over the whole thing.
Okay. Now, some people have been wondering that how come the protest doesn't actually have like a leading figure that coordinates the affairs of the protest to give one voice. But while looking at it, I even eventually realized that besides the protesters not being so fantastically coordinated, as it were, it looks as if the government does not seem to be coordinated too. Now, just after the incident that took place in Lekki, Lagos, at the toll gate yesterday,
Yes.
so many shootings, and then it appears as if no one seems to be willing to accept responsibility. Everyone says, like the governor of Lagos State said, what happened was
Beyond
his direct. It's
Yes.
like a force beyond his own
His
direct
control.
control. You now
Yes.
wonder, who else is governing the state outside the governor? Are there other governors governing the governor of the state? So it now looks as if the coordination from the government side, both federal and the state level, seems not to be so coordinated.
Yes.
So what do you think about what's going on?
Well, talking to that particular statement from the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, that said, what happened at the Lekki toll gate yesterday was beyond his control, that it was a force that was beyond his control, was actually, in my opinion, a statement of incompetence.
Okay.
Because as the chief security officer of Lagos State that you had, the governor, the executive governor of Lagos State, there is nothing that should be taking place within the domain of your state that should not first and foremost, come to your attention first as the governor.
Yeah, but there's another thing that I want you to look at there.
Okay.
Now, perhaps the governor is using a manner to communicate his own frustration as the chief executive officer, the chief security officer of the state, who is so on paper but not so in real life. Is he using style to tell us that he's actually not the one in charge?
Well, looking at it from that angle as well, it is actually true, because we know, the system of governance in Lagos State. We know that governors are just actually governors in paper, but there is someone behind the scene who appears or seems to dictate the tone of events, that happens in the state. And so, if a state governor, for example, in Lagos State says he doesn't know what was going we can actually excuse him, for making that statement, because he could be saying the truth. We're in a nation where, godfatherism seems to be the order of the day. A governor is just a governor on paper, but whereas at the back of the scene, someone else is the one dictating, what happens in the state, and the way state resources and other things should be shared. So we can excuse the governor for that statement. But however, it also shows how incompetent, the governor is for him to have uttered that statement.
Now, the side I was actually looking at it from is the constitutional side of the issue.
All right.
Now, the Constitution has made the military, the police, to be under the control of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Now, could it be that the governor was indirectly stating that these men that have acted, even though they ought to be directed by me, but they were directed by forces above me? Could it mean that he was referring to the directive being delivered or being released from Abuja instead of from Alausa in Ikeja?
Wow. Well, that is another perfect angle. But there was also another incident in Ibadan that shows a different slight contrast to what have in Lagos right now. There was a time a protester was killed in Ogbomoso, Oyo State. And then the governor of Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde, said that the police in Oyo State should take the back seat and then order the military to take over and guide the protesters.
Yes. To guide the protesters,
yes.
Not to fight
them. And the moment the governor of Oyo State issued that statement, we saw the soldiers came into the scene of the protest, and even at some point were protesting with the Oyo State protesters.
So you are trying to tell me now that the issue is not just the constitutional
It is not
issue.
It is not just the constitutional issue. I believe, being the chief security officer of a state, the governor also, to some degree, has some exercise, some power enabled by the constitution to be able to control the situation, the security situation of his state per time. Governor Sanwo-Olu could have instructed that the soldiers should not shoot, that any soldiers that is found shooting or killing unarmed protesters will be prosecuted. So any soldier that is
could have given them a guide
or a warning that, see, go to this protest ground and guide protesters. Don't fight them, don't shoot at them. If any one of them is harmed in the process, the soldiers will be held accountable. But he never said that. The worst mistake he first made was to declare a curfew that was supposed to start by 4 p.m. And later they retracted that statement and said, they've made the mistake that the protest, the curfew should start by 9:30 p.m. So by 4 p.m. everywhere was already in panic. People were wondering, what about people that goes to work, and then how do they come back, considering the situation, traffic situation of Lagos State? So there were a lot of lapses on the part of...
There were some decision errors.
There were some decision errors on the part of Sanwo-Olu, even in the first place, beginning from the early hours of yesterday. And it was those decisions, those leadership errors and decisions, that culminated into what we now saw in the evening of the massacre that happened at the Lekki toll gate. So Sanwo-Olu cannot be totally, excused from what is happening currently in Lagos State.
Thank you for your contribution on that. The other side I would like to look at it is, what do you think the soldiers could have done to make the pass? Because there could be people, there could be influential figures in the country, perhaps local and foreign, who were not necessarily comfortable with the occupation of the protesting youths in that particular location. And perhaps the government wanted them to leave. What do you think the military could have done to still ensure that the youth leave without committing murder?
Now, in all honesty, what I think the military or the police should have done in that situation is to go to the protest ground and allow free flow of vehicular movement. Now, in the process of doing that, they were not supposed to arm the protesters, but they were supposed to tell them that, see, you can stay here for as long as possible.
Let there be free flow.
But let there be free flow of traffic. Let there be free flow.
I still believe Nigerians respect the military.
Of course. Sir, the original people who started the ENDSARS protest initially, they were middle middle-class Nigerians.
Okay.
They were educated. They were not thugs. And if you look at the first 4-5 days of the protest, it was peaceful. It was coordinated. Everything was going in order.
They could listen to
They could listen to conversation. They could have said, okay, we are here to ensure that nobody gets hurt in the course of this protest among you guys. So why not allow vehicular movement so that people who, for example, it's not all the youth in Nigerians that are protesting. There are older Nigerians who are supposed to be commuting from one place to the other. So why not allow vehicular movement of other Nigerians to take place, to go to their various places, and then they will see towards ensuring that happens, and then nobody, get out in the process. That is what I believe that the military should have done, and the police as well should have done. Not shooting at unarmed protesters with Nigerian flags in their hands, even singing national anthem. Because I saw a video when the soldiers arrived at the scene, the protesters were there, they were singing national anthem, and they started shooting, sporadically, and that was where the genesis of the killing started. So if they had gotten there and said, see, we are here to maintain peace, to protect you guys from, going ahead to do what you want to do, let's just allow people to move. I believe that is what should have happened in a saner climate.
Now, we are out of time, but I just want you to talk about this issue. Now, many people, the Senate particularly requested that the president should address the people. What do you think the address of Mr. President could have done at such a time, or even at this time that we are in now?
I actually believe it was pertinent for the president to actually address, the protesting Nigerians. Now, these people were saying they want reforms, and they want to see progress in the reforms. Now, the president, if he was, a leader indeed, was supposed to come on national TV every day and say, okay, this is what we have been able to do today.
As at yesterday.
Okay,
this like giving the way they were doing during the COVID-19 issue, like daily update. Because I think it's a national emergency.
It's a national emergency. The protest is across the nation, so it's a national emergency. If they could do that, during for COVID-19, it
COVID-19 that is not a living thing.
Can we say that now?
That's not even human. If they could respect
COVID-19, a virus. What about a life-threatening situation? The president could have come out. He won't leave the Aso Villa. The media team can just organize a broadcast and begin to give updates. This is what I did yesterday. I was able to disband SARS, and officially they are disbanded. This is what we are doing with
those
the reforms.
Guys have started training.
Those guys have started training. Yes, psychological training.
I was with them. My vice president was with them.
The chief secretary to the government of the nation was with them. And so give update of what you are doing part time, and let people see that you are actually doing this. Now, good. They told the state governors to go and establish judicial, panel of inquiry. Many of the state governments, I think about 6 or 7 of them, had actually done that. This is what we are talking about. Let people see that you are actually making progress. Give them daily update. It won't cost you anything. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you walk away from the scene, so that people can know that at least their president cares, their president understands,
and is doing
something about their plight. This is what I feel.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
I'm sure many people are already meditating, thinking over this words that has been shared here. What I believe we must understand is that critical times as we are in Nigeria is a time that really comes to check the leadership foundation of our elite groups.
Yes.
How leading or how capable are they as leaders?
Yes.
I'm sure many of us call them leaders. There's so many people who are in positions of authority who are not necessarily leaders. I'm sure this is the right time for Nigerians to start asking questions about whom they are voting into power.
Yes.
Are we voting in leaders or we are voting in men? Are we voting in people who have increased in age, or are we voting in men of values, men that had principles, men that could stand for things and could even die for things?
Yes.
I'm sure the more of those people we have in leadership, the more of expected responses we'll be experiencing, because when the citizens expect their leaders to do certain things and they don't do it, the citizens are disappointed in their leaders.
Yes.
So there is disappointment, expectations are not met.
Yes.
And if expectations must be met, it must be because we are able to identify the right group of people in our society and make such leaders over us.
Definitely.
Because I think that's the only time that power can truly reside with the people.
Absolutely, that's absolutely correct, sir. You know, it's time we demand accountability
in governance,
especially in Nigeria. You know, leadership has actually been the bane of our development, and I think it's time that our leaders understand what accountability is. You are not there because you put yourself there. People voted for you, so the true power actually resides with the people, and so it is pertinent that you give accountability of your stewardship while you are the leader, the president, the governor, or whatever capacity of leadership that you are occupying part-time. It is very important that Nigerian leaders wake up to this part of their responsibilities.
That's good. Another thing that I also thought about was that what happens to a particular man who has been a rough guy or a rough person all his life, he engages in abuse, maybe of his wife or of his family members, of his staff, all through his life, and suddenly somebody or some people package such a person for political position. Now, how do you expect such a person to make decision in a time that we are in Nigeria? The person will look for a violent means of achieving his own personal goals.
That's actually the case in Nigeria. You know, many times we leave competent people and then we elect incompetent people. Now, the truth is, most of the times, the way elections is being done or conducted in Nigeria bring in these incompetent people. You know, elections are not counted. People voted, but most of the time, their votes are not counted. We see a situation whereby people rig themselves into power, and it's not as if they have the power from the people. You know, they gave themselves the power. And so when we see things like this, is as a result of the failure of the electionary process. And I think it's also a time we begin to look at our electionary process.
I'm sure we will do that in our next, in our subsequent episodes of this program. Thank you for the gift of your time. You've been listening, you've been watching TTN. My name is Boyega Dedeji, and I've been accompanied here with
Abiola Obayomi.
It's such a great time we've had.
Yes, such a wonderful time we had. We hope to do more of this, you know, in subsequent times. Make it a date.
All right. Before we go, we'd like to let you know that TTN has a slogan. So we want you to join us in this slogan.
Yes.
TTN,
the voice of the people.
TTN,
the voice of God.
TTN,
the voice of national transformation.
We hope to see you next time. Thank you.